Is everybody in? Is everybody in? It's time for the enchilada to begin. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Sasquatch Obelisk. I'm Doby the Froby.
Doby Froby, Froby Doby, a Doby Froby with the fat Doby sat on the commodity.
That's Polly. Almonds. ¿Qué pasó? I know it's a very scary time out there in the real world for a lot of us. But don't you worry, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here to alleviate all your bad nerves. Help you keep on keeping on. And you're in for a treat tonight because Wednesday night is the Tranquilized Moviehouse at my channel. As I said before,
Doby.
I'm a freelance animator, archivist. I mostly do storyboard animatics. Above everything else, I'm a movie lover. Old movies, new movies, documentaries, animated, it doesn't matter. I love every form, every genre. I attend the film cinema several times a week, weekly, bi-weekly, intermediately. Avid renter at Blockbuster. Yeah, but then I rent stuff at home all throughout the night. But Wednesday nights, these nights, are when I'm at my calmest. I'm usually at my most chill, especially after I get home from walking our dogs, Loki and Lula. My wife, Jessica, she noticed that as she's falling asleep on those nights, I always start a movie in the living room. And she said in the morning, I always complained to her that I wish I had a movie buddy who was up late. Can you please be my movie watching buddy? This week on the Tranquilized Moviehouse, I'm doing descriptive audio tracks for a copyright afflicted world. The descriptive audio track while I'm performing a puppet show made of clip art that Polly has prepared for me. And the fun there is, it's the first time I'm seeing the puppets and the backgrounds he made. He has them coded and synced to the timestamp, so I know exactly where they go and which characters pop up, but it's the first time I'm seeing them. And he likes to put some of the shittiest things I've ever seen, just to try to mess up my train of thought. I'm also seeing the movie for the first time, so it'll be a fun disaster to experience together. Me trying to act it out while I'm also doing commentary. And tonight's movie is The Crawling Ass from 1958. Wait, that's The Crawling Eye. That's also called the Trollenberg Terror in the United Kingdom. I'm going to alternate between two types of commentary tracks I do on each Tranquilized Moviehouse night. On the descriptive audio track night, I will pick a copyrighted movie that I can't show the visuals from, like tonight's movie is not in the public domain, and I'll act it out in real time, like I said. And then on public domain night, that'll be easier for me because I don't have to act anything out with the clip art shit puppets. We can watch it together because they're in the public domain. Any of us can watch them. The bulls can't come after me for piracy charges, and they can't come after any of us. These things are in the public domain. We could just watch it together, and I'll host it here on my channel, live. I've got some good shit on the schedule coming up, too. Most of the titles, except one, are new to me. Next week's public domain movie is a Soviet-era sci-fi. Here in the United States, they call the movie First Spaceship on Venus. It's Eastern Germany during the Soviet bloc, so east of the Berlin Wall, made with a joint production between them and Poland. On the 16th, it's back to the descriptive audio track night with the puppet show on Godzilla vs. Biollante, which I actually got the new Criterion. It's hard to see. I got the new Criterion in the mail. I'll be doing descriptive audio with puppets to that. Then the public domain week after that, the first version of Omega Man, the Richard Matheson story, I Am Legend, the first one that was filmed in Spain with Vincent Price. That's the one I've seen. And then one of my blind spots, my major blind spot for 2019, The Hole in the Ground. I never got to see it, but I know that it's the film that Sam Raimi saw that got Lee Cronin the Evil Dead high-rise gig. By the way, you guys can see my schedule for the next 3 months if you follow me on any of my socials. If you do like more detailed animation, tune into my Twitch on Saturday nights, because I do 16-bit retro pixel recreations of iconic movie moments that night in something I call Immortalizing Cinema via 16-bit. It's all in the style of those Sierra MS-DOS point-and-click adventure games. Well, like Delphines, Another World, the King's Quest, Space Quest games. And also, on Friday nights, at this same time, I play indie horror games on Fridays. Hey, if any of you are on Movie, Serialized, or especially Letterboxd, drop your profile link in the chat. Or message me your profile link. I don't have any friends on there. I need more friends on Letterboxd. Just let me quickly address the elephant in the room with this Splatterhouse costume. I promise it's not permanent. I had a stupid accident, bad reaction to something. Bad reaction to something I did, and I don't want to tell you. Anyways, I'm still not comfortable showing my face just yet. If you or someone you know doesn't really fit society's conventional mold, or you are disfigured, just know that you're still beautiful, you're perfect. I'm just personally not used to showing my mug right now. So, after the healing process, I might reveal my douche face, but I appreciate your understanding and grace and patience. But in the meantime, you guys, on one of these days, you guys can help me pick my new costume, my new masks. Anyway, back to today's commentary track. We can attempt to press play at the same time together to be synced, but I'll keep you abreast of all the timestamps and any ad breaks that happen, but I'm going to be pausing a lot just because I'm doing animation at the same time. So there's no way we're going to be synced to a T. So let's start the crawling eye, shall we? What I do is I go to justwatch.com. You type in the movie you're looking for. It's called The Crawling Eye here in the United States. If your VPN's tuned to the United Kingdom, type in the Trollenberg Terror. You can try to press play at the same time as me, but true synchronicity on DA track night, that's going to be a futile endeavor because I'm lagging behind with all the commercials. Just pause my stream and you can catch up. This is going to be a lot easier on public domain night. Let's start with the crawling arse. Crawling eye. 3, 2, 1, press play. Damn. Right off the bat, Amazon's barraging us with ads. This is for some show called Yellow Jackets, which I think it's the girl who did Jennifer's Body and the screenwriter of Jennifer's Body, Karen Kusama, which is pretty cool. I just haven't had the chance to watch it. Alright, finally, the credits are starting. Timestamp 000, Eros Films Limited. Or is it frog? 20th century frog. Alright, the first establishing shot is a real valley in between some mountains, not a matte painting. This is second unit footage, or maybe it's stock footage, but it starts on the valley, the little villages, and then camera tilts up, and Polly has made, little mountain range for me. Thank you, Polly. You hear cowbells going, bovine farmers. Right now we're on a matte painting, and a really good matte painting of a mountain range, really sharp tip of a mountain with a spooky cloud around it. Maybe it's just snow. This is the Carpathians, Swiss Alps, the Andes, I don't know. This seems like a pretty low budget movie. I mean, it's not any of the big studio names I recognized from England during the 50s, but it is some handsome ass black and white film stock, and they shot it in 1.66:1. Okay, now we're on a soundstage of a cliff ledge. There's two hikers standing on a soundstage, or men dressed up to be hikers, and there's a forced perspective in the background of their high up, dangerous cliffside. We're at 40 seconds in, timestamp. Hey Jimmy, he's calling off to his friend off camera. You see a rope going up out of frame. It's almost like theater. Like, the shot isn't changing. I wish there was a shot maybe looking up at him over the ledge, foreboding with the rope going up and out of frame, and you just hear his voice off camera. But then they'd have to matte paint the angle going up. But definitely, if you were going to have a Hitchcockian Fear of Heights shot looking down at the chasm, they'd have to definitely have a matte painter come in. So maybe they just didn't have the money. Usually less is more, but this is not a very suspenseful beginning. Their friends saying,
"Oh, a cloud is coming. Something spooky."
They're making jokes about the Yeti. I don't know what's beeping. Beep, beep. Maybe that's just the score. A toy G.I. Joe fell past them. I guess it was a miniature of a climber's body. Just falls past them through the frame. And he screamed bloody murder. Alright, now they're pulling him up. Jimmy, are you okay? You guys should have bought the Sterling Strength cabling, bro. That's the only way to mountain climb. They're not cutting it down. They're keeping it out of frame. They're just pulling the ropes up to see what happened to Jimmy. Why is he not talking anymore? His body's limp, got blood on it. The guy responded to something scary out of frame. I like to imagine Jim just had horrible breath and the guy got a whiff. No! It needs two people to lift. The guy who got scared let go. Why are you not helping anymore? And he says, oh shoot, Jimmy didn't have a head anymore. So right as he says, oh, his head, it was torn off. There's a smash cut to a train. Come on, ride the train. Woo, we'll ride it. All right, and it's going into the tunnel, and then the credits start. The Trollenberg Terror in the United Kingdom. Here in the States, we have it as the Crawling Eye. Ooh, kind of Saul Bass-esque credits design. Little arrows pointing, like the man with the golden arm. Maybe a little bit psycho, but I don't know. Well, I'm thinking of Taking of Pelham 123, the original one, not the Tony Scott one. And but maybe I'm just thinking of the Mass Transit Board Walter Matthau looks at. Has all these arrows on it. Forrest Tucker's in this. The dude, he's famous for the show F Troop. I never really got to see that. It's more my grandparents' generation. I'm more familiar with Goof Troop. Oh, Janet Monroe from Darby O'Gill and the Little People. The second best Leprechaun film ever made. I've never seen anything else by this director. I know he was big in United Kingdom TV, but Quentin Lawrence. We couldn't afford Tarantingus. We had to settle for Lawrence. Produced by Robert S. Baker and Monty Berman. They're not always Eros films. Sometimes people think their movies are like bastardized Hammer horror picks, but The Flesh and the Fiends is pretty damn fun. Ooh, cool. And the way coming out of the tunnel fits the ocular theme of the crawling eye. Kind of looks like the shape of an eye. If you were going into this back then, I assume you saw the poster with the big giant monster eye. Alright, exterior of a train, just stock footage going through the European countryside. Alright, now we're on a sound stage. There's two women. One, she looks like a teenager and an older woman. The teenager's asleep on the older woman, and there's someone, looks like someone's dad with glasses just reading a newspaper. And There's rear projection of the passing countryside, of course. I'm at the timestamp 333. Anne, were you dreaming? I was trying to, bitch. Let me sleep. The older woman is overly tending to this girl. She's not a baby. She's like just a young woman. The man across is just eavesdropping. Oh, he's the guy from F Troop. Anne's waking up. You were talking in your sleep. She keeps asking, are you feeling okay? Are you feeling okay? She's like, I wish everyone would stop treating me like an invalid. You are an invalid. Alright, now the train is entering a pass where the characters say, oh, you can see the mountain range. And the teenager, Anne, she gets up and looks at the window. And the shot of the mountain passing by, for some reason, it's a static shot, but they're on a moving train. Cue the spooky music. She's all happy looking at the mountains at first, and then her smile's turning upside down, and she's like getting creeped out. She really almost looks like she's gonna barf, and her eyes are fluttering. She's stumbling. Damn, the kid just fell over. He fell over onto the dude's newspapers. You smushed my Archie comics. Alright, they're trying to wake her up. What happened? Did I faint? The girl seems really embarrassed that she fell into a guy's lap. My name's Alan Brooks. Well, hi, I'm Ann Pilgrim, and this is my sister Sarah. Anne looks straight at the camera for a second. You'll feel better if you drink out of this flask. That'll bring the color back. Is she even old enough to drink? Well, they are European, though. They have different laws. Damn krauts and frogs are plastered by the time they're in kindergarten. The older sister explains that they're going to Geneva. So they're in Switzerland. The train attendant just walked by. He's like, next stop, Trollenberg, in that heavy Bjorn accent. I'm telling you, Trollenberg is the home of the trolls. Alright, now she's just being a weirdo ever since she woke up. Where's Trollenberg? She's having some kind of premonition or bad vibes. We're going to stop at Hotel Europa instead. They're making an itinerary change. How do you know about Hotel Europa? We've never been. Cue that X-Files music. I don't know how I know. This guy just looks annoyed with them now. These old yammering bags. I'm going to go back to reading my paper. Alright, crossfades to a train pulling into a train station. There's some tourists standing around. It looks like a tiny town. Okay, crossfade to a train station on a soundstage, and the train station set is way more crowded than the exterior. This is a short guy walking in with a white fedora hat. He shakes Mr. Brooks' hand. Can't place this new guy's accent. I mean, she said Geneva, so maybe it's Swiss, but he sounds like the Nazi prison guards in Hogan's Heroes. I think he's some kind of tour guide. Now Mr. Brooks is asking if the guy can help with finding the two ladies' lodging because she had her little final destination vision. Now it's cutting to a car going up a winding mountain road. Now they're the interior shot of the car. It's a set of a car with rear projection where they just bounce the actors around. Mr. Brooks offers the girls a cigarette. No. Anne looks like she's in a freaking fugue state. I guess she's like psychic or something. She's talking about the accident that happened with the mountaineers before the credits. Oh, the sister Sarah asked the hotel driver, were there any recent accidents reported? Who knows? On a mountain, sometimes these things happen. Now, the younger one, Anne, says the peasant communities of the mountain have all moved away in fear. The driver's like, mountain people are superstitious idiots. Now the girl's going on about rumors of so many climbers going missing. And the driver got kind of chilled, like it let out a but I think he's more annoyed. Just shut up when you're in my car. Alright, now it's an exterior of a hotel. Real footage. A little cute, cozy hotel, 3 stories. When they're getting out of the car, though, it cuts to a soundstage shot of them getting out of a prop car, and there's a matte painting of mountains behind them. Music's like wondrous, then it goes to spooky, and it keeps cutting to that matte painting of the spiky mountain with the snow fog on it. Anne was smiling when she looked up at it, but then her smile, once again, she looked creeped out. Now cutting to an interior set of a hotel lobby. The bartender's serving a guy smoking a cigarette. The short fedora guy calls the bartender Hans, and now they're getting luggage. The main characters are waddling into the lobby, holding jackets and stuff. The guy that was smoking at the bar got up. He's introducing himself to Mr. Brooks. He sounds like a Brit. His name is Mr. Trisket? I'm a big fan of your crispy crackers, sir. Now he's getting introduced to the Pilgrim Sisters. Truscott. Oh. Crossfade to a set of the girls in a hotel room. They're unpacking. The younger one, Anne, she goes to the window, opens it up, sees that matte painting again, and the spooky music goes. The ominous fog. She's going into one of her entranced fugue states. She's saying every detail about a base camp. It's all there, even though she's never been there. Keeps going into this boring shot, reverse shot. It started on a cool shot of her looking out the window, but now it's just like...
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Sarah, why did I have such a strong urge to come here? I don't know. Stop worrying, you dingus. Lots of people get deja vu. Maybe you saw it in a magazine. And she's slowly looking at the mountain again. I wonder if this is that Lovecraftian cloud that Jordan Peele was talking about that influenced some of Jean Jackett's core mechanics in Nope, which was, for my money, the cinematic event of 2022. Alright, cuts to Mr. Brooks's hotel room. Someone knocked at the door. Housekeeping? It's Triscuit's. Why is he just walking in? He comes in the room and said hi in a creepy kind of way. What's up? What do you want? Now they're chewing the fat about past travel experiences at the mountain community. Triscuit looks down and notices, pretty cool insert shot of a revolver just sitting in Brooks's suitcase. How the fuck did you get that through customs? It was a different time. Now Brooks can tell that Triscuit sees the gun. He says, I need a little bit of privacy. Brooks puts the gun away in the drawer to ease the limey. Triscuit, he's suspicious about this American who's here with a gun and no climbing gear. He's talking about how he's kind of attracted to the Pilgrim Sisters. And he says something about he thinks they used to do a fortune-telling act at the Palladium in the UK. Hey, con artists need vacations too. Triscuit left. It cuts to the hallway and the camera follows him out. He suddenly freezes and looks concerned that he rushed into his room, a set of his room. Ring, ring, operator, connect me with Big Booty Magazine, please. Now, Brooks is leaving his room. He's walking down the hallway with his book of cigs. But now he hears stupid Triscuit left his door open while he's calling for information on Brooks. And it's real obvious, like Brooks clearly hears him doing it as he's passing the room. I knew it, that damn Triscuit's a spy for saltines. This actor, Forrest Tucker from F Troop, he kind of reminds me of George Reeves from the 1950s Superman short films. But then his eyes are Gary Cooper's. Alright, he's walking down the stairs into the lobby and he looks pretty bummed out that someone's spying on him. Two British mountain climbers walk up to him, and their gear is all ready to go. They're introducing themselves. Hey, we're gonna get drunk before we head out to climb. You wanna join us? Yes, I'll take a Tom Collins with lemon, please. The main climber guy, he's requesting an extra bottle of scotch to take up the mountain. Bro, get help. It's to help with the cold. Okay, now Sarah and Triscuit are walking down the stairs to join everyone. Movies were paced remarkably slow back then. At least the mood is a bit spooky. Now Sarah's meeting the mountain climbers. Want to share a drink with us? Tell me your tale, sir, while I get inebriated. There's just nothing going on stylistically in this scene so far. Lots of the shots early on were very pretty. But every time it gets into a big dialogue scene, it's like the staging of a play. The angle is just one shot. Occasionally he cuts to a close-up. The husky leader of the two climbers, he's explaining that he's a geologist in his day job. Finally, it cut to an interesting shot of Triscuit, the Brit that was spying on Brooks. He says, keep an eye on their mountain roping for tampering. Ooh, cue the... The younger mountaineer's like, why? Something about those climbers who recently died. Now it keeps jumping back and forth to everyone with shot, reverse shot. The mood is dour and everyone in here is bummed out, including the bartender. Thinking about that headless climber. Nasty business that was. The younger hiker is basically saying the dumb student shouldn't have been out there climbing without a guide. You could have fooled me, those actors look like they're in their mid-40s. Triscuit explains that the current theory is a loop in the rope got caught on the guy's neck as he fell, and it popped off his head. Well, sir, your theory is absolute poppycock. Alright, cutting to close-ups of everyone. The kraut bartender, Hans Moleman, he's chiming in But the superstitious villagers say that the rope could not have decapitated him because it was harnessed around his body solid. The plot thickens. My plops thicken. Go on, Hans. Explains what else. Otherwise, you're not being a very good harbinger for Das Creature feature. Hans just got the runs and left the room real quick, uncomfortable. Mr. Brooks approached Trisket and he asked if he's heard of what else the village people say. Well, they sing the YMCA song. Trisket explains that they believe the head was severed before the body fell into the chasm. Oh, heavens to Betsy, Triskets. That dingus younger hiker is reiterating that he thinks the accident happened just because of how unexperienced they were. They were green rookies. Bruh, just watch. You're damn roping. Make sure that shit's tight. The hikers are leaving now, and Brooks asks if he can bum a ride off them to Dexter's lab, so they all split. Alright, cut to exterior shot of, I don't know if this is, it looks like a miniature, 2 cable cars going up. Crossfade to the interior of a cable car with rear projection. It's Brooks and the 2 limey mountain climbers. It's really dense fog. You can barely make out what's going on. They're like in a really thick fog. That's spooky stuff. Reminds me of like King Kong 1933. The older fat climber, like he was saying, he's a geologist in his normal job. And that it's crazy that the rocks that make up a mountain, over time, pressure can change what they were originally made of completely. The other climbers dismissing the notion completely. Oh, you disagree with basic earth science. A mountain is a mountain. Yes, rock, big, cable car, robot. Me belong under bridge. Why are the dumbest people always so open about it? Save some dignity and clam up! Brooks is asking, how long is it going to take you guys to get to your destination from the observatory we're stopping at? And the dumber one guesstimates, about 3.5 hours. Dude, this is a horror movie. You're going to be reaching your demise in a body bag. Alright, cuts to a really good exterior scale miniature of the observatory on the cliff. The British have always been experts in this effects field, like Marionation, Jerry Anderson. Now, cut to the observatory lab. It's a close-up of like a gloved hand switching on some knobs and a gauge panel. The camera pushes backwards and it reveals a large observatory with scientists and instruments everywhere. The young nerd who was using the instrument walks up to an older-looking scientist who is clearly just Ludwig van Duck from the Disney sing-along. The older scientist is annoyed with a lab assistant who walked into the room. But it's someone named Brooks, Herr Doctor. Oh, he likes that name. It turned him on for some reason. Now that old fart's excited. Alright, cut to observatory hallway. The Ludwig von Duck is marching down the hallway to a big bunker-like door. He lets Brooks in, and they shake each other's hands, laughing. Doctor says he's scolding his team since they didn't open the door sooner. The camera's tracking with them as they walk back to the main observatory. Alright, now they're in a really wide shot of the main observatory, and you see it's a pretty good set for a B horror film. A giant window with mountains out of it. The old scientist asks what he thinks of the place. He says he got all of this money from a government grant to do this work. As they walk up to this little radar scanner, the camera pushes into them. Brooks asks, "Is it a TV?" It is, better than Windows. Little computer screens filming the mountain. I didn't even know there were CCTV back then. Alright, it cuts back to them at the instrument desk and the old doctors laughing about how brilliant this camera system is. I guess back then it was pretty rad and new that you could get a vantage point from somewhere you weren't even at. He explains the government was complaining about how expensive all his equipment was, but he put his foot down. I wanted Sony, not Vizio. I said it 6 times. The old scientist is walking over to a lever on the wall with Brooks and the camera, Chuck's with them. He's pointing over to the giant window and displays how this lever causes a big steel shutter to close over the window like a bunker. In the event of an avalanche emergency naturally, he explains that their main mission at the observatory is to study cosmic rays that hit the Earth at this high elevation. Alright, now they're walking into Von Duck's office. Brooks and Von Duck. The camera pushes into Brooks smirking at his old professor. Come on, Doc, come clean. Why are you acting different now? In your letter, you said it was urgent. You needed me to be here quick. You better not be about to confess your love for me, or so help me God. The old scientist is now quietly revealing there have been many more accidents on the slopes, not just those recent one with the student climbers. Alright, back to the observatory interior room. There's a spooky mountain with a static cloud, and some interference is happening on the radars. Okay, on one of the computer screens, they see footage of the, motion sensor set it off. It's the two hiker guys that drove him to the lift. Brooks is going on about how him and the doctor, the old scientist, experienced something crazy like this before in the past. But the authorities wouldn't believe Brooks about people who went missing, and the investigation stopped. Okay, finally, cuts to a spooky shot of the mountain at night. Now an interior ranger station set, cabin bunk beds. The two climbers, the bigger one is in the bunk bed. He's getting ready for bed. The other one looks like he's drawing something or marking on a map where they are. The younger one got up and looked out at the storm that's hitting them. This stuff is pretty spooky right here. It's shot good. Keeps cutting to the exterior of the little shed, and you just hear the wind howling. Anytime you know you're in a place where visibility is bad, that automatically makes it a little bit more suspenseful. That mountain matte painting is spookier at night, and there's still that fog mist moving around. Alright, cross dissolves to a snow globe that one of the hotel staff is carrying to Sarah. A bunch of men in suits have gathered in the lobby this is a dining area of the hotel. This is a long time to go without anything scary happening. When you're pacing a horror movie, you gotta be a little bit quicker, guys. It's been a long time since that first major scary beat. Horror's like a dynamic piece of music. You gotta drop nicely timed stingers in, little notes from time to time. The tension just starts to fade. Oh, Trisket was right. They're gonna do some kind of like seance, or she does a psychic act. It seems like she's actually psychic, though, or she at least thinks she is. The girls are wearing like really nice dresses, not just tourist stuff. And the young one is the psychic. She turns her back to them and guesses what they have in their hands or in a hat. She guessed the money exactly. It's a franc Deutschmark. She knows the exact numbers on the card. I've seen magicians do this, though. Next item. She guessed the paperweight correctly. The shot of the girl from Darby O'Gill is pretty good. This looks like a handsome noir movie right here. I guess it's the lighting in the dining room, but I don't know why the cinematographer didn't like the whole film like this. Alright, now she's freaking out. She's having one of her visions. It's going in close to her face. Ooh, almost like Children of the Damned. It's going in close on her eyes. The cinematographer's using a reflector to create a strip of light across her eyes, and the focus puller is kind of making it go blurry. She's having a vision about the mountaineers that were just pictured in the shed. It's cutting to the guy in the shed. He's getting up all, ooh, he has the shining. Like a zombie, he's just like in a trance, getting up, walking. He's straight up gonna walk off the mountain. He's leaving the mountain into the snowy night while his friend's asleep. Alright, cut back to Anne. In her trance, she's freaking out. Brooks believes it enough to get up and run to the phone and call. Does that shed even have a phone? Oh, again, she faints. Some psychic she is. Everyone's tending to her except Brooks, who's calling. Ring, ring!
Oh, a phone is ringing!
The portly climber, mountaineer guy from earlier gets up to answer the phone. Oi, why you calling so late? Are you okay? Yeah, nothing. Everything's good. Is the younger climber there? Sure, he'd be here. He's not gonna want... Spoke too soon. He's gone. He's looking around for him. He must have had a dreadful case of mud butt. He had to go out into the snow. Come back to the phone. No, he's not here. You were right. The door is wide open and he just left.
He just left! With nuts!
It just keeps cutting to close-up shots of them on the phone as they have their conversation. He says, don't go looking for him. There's really heavy snow. And if he wasn't wearing a heavy coat, he might freeze to death already. So we don't want two dead guys. Hangs up. Now it cuts back to the guy in the shed. He's pretty worried about his friend. What in the hell was he thinking? He goes to the open door. He's calling out for him. Get back in the shed, you dingus! Ooh, spooky effect of his voice echoing across the mountains. He shuts the door, waddles back to bed. Alright, now it's cutting to Anne, passed out in her bedroom, and all the doctors are checking on her. What happened? The doctor wants to sedate her. Get away, you creepy Jack Kevorkian. If you know your sister's psychic and she has these fits, why do you make her go through this for your job? The professor who was up in the observatory earlier as part of this party that was watching the psychic show, I guess just to keep Brooks company, but he seems like he's not skeptical, like he believes in all this. But maybe he's seen something in the past. He walks out into the hallway with Sarah, the older sister. Give her this sedative and then come talk to me. And Triscuits is real concerned about this too. Now everyone's gathered in the lobby, and of course we all know Betty and Bobby Blobby were lost in the lobby.
Betty!
Bobby,
Betty and Bobby Blobby! We want our mommy!
to be in the lobby.
Talking about how weird it is that the guy walked off in the middle of the night and what's your name called it exactly as it was. He's not the most skeptic scientist ever. Sarah, is this act of yours, jest? Is it just an illusion or is it real? Yeah, Sarah's saying that we used to do cold readings and then she found out that she actually was clairvoyant and could see a lot of things. Well, Triscuit is at the top of the stairs eavesdropping. Old professor is saying, you need to get her out of here. Probably because of the deaths he knows about. You need to get her out of here. Sensitive psychic like her. Brooks just noticed Triscuit at the top of the stairs eavesdropping. Go confront him. Hans is answering the phone. Hello? The phone's for the professor. Hello. It's one of his lab guys at the observatory saying the cloud that is always static and just stays there is finally moving, and they can track it with radiation and radar. Si, senor. He's like, I'll be up in the morning. I would go up there right now. Hopefully the cloud doesn't move to where the hikers are, which you know it is. Alright, Brooks is calling him again, saying, watch out for a fog. Don't go outside. He's scaring this dude into a frenzy, this British guy. Hey, there's someone outside. Let me open the door. Ooh, a fog bank moving in. It's a pretty cool, swirling effect. No, it's not your friend, you idiot. He left the door open. False alarm. There's no one there. Just that raven again. Alright, he goes to close the door and freaks out. Ah! He's trying to keep something out. Boards up the door. Climber, can you hear me? Answer. The camera pans into him and he did a very, very funny shriek while the camera pushed into him. He just kind of morphed into Jerry Lewis for a second. Marvin! Alright, now someone's calling the hotel to speak to the professor again. I see. He hung up. He didn't say what happened. It's the observatory. The cloud moved to the hut and then away from the hut. And just when you lost contact with that dingus. Alright, cut to the lobby set again. All the guys are getting dressed for mountain climbing. They're going to do a search party to go look, see if those guys are okay. Highly dubious. It's Triscuits, the hotel guide with the fedora, Brooks, and the bartender. Hans, mole man. Professor's staying, or I guess he has to go to the observatory. Be careful. Alright, go fuck yourself. Alright, map painting of a mountain range. Ooh, now pretty cool Lord of the Rings-ish shot of silhouettes of men climbing up a mountain range. This has got to be stock footage from like a mountaineering documentary. Alright, they're all walking past rear projection of mountains. Move, Triscuits, keep going. Don't stop in front of me. These, some of the stock footage they're using was men who looked nothing like them and had like Australian World War I outfits on. Anna's in her hotel room bed having some kind of fit. Red rum. Stay away from the hut, stay away from the hut. Okay, can't really call the guys unless they have a radio, which I wonder. This is post-World War I, but it seemed like only specialized people had those giant radios on them. Radio backpack. Professor, why is my sister like this? Her brain is like a radio receiver. Well, you know, they have been known to inbreed, and it can create these effects. The user's mind's capable of reading signals put out by other minds. When you use that shining, the pineal gland is sending out scanner tunes. Get your sister out of here before it's too late. Something bad's gonna happen. Professor says he needs to leave. When those men reach the hut, we'll know if her visions were truly correct. Alright, they're coming up to the little shed ranger station in the mountains. They can't get in because the door's boarded up. I guess making a big American lead, like the macho guy, was like way to ensure American audiences would watch it. He busted the door. Look at this. Broken glass, and the blankets are frozen stiff. Ooh, they found something under the bunk bed, a body. It looks like the portly climber, judging from the sausage fingers. They're pulling him out. Whoa! He also has been decapitated. Alright, cuts to the two limey sisters having tea time in their hotel room. They're both just chilling on the bed, talking about how we need to leave. Anne doesn't want to. She feels like she needs to be here. The sister leaves the room. The shots are very noirish now. Good lighting since the spookiness began with their little psychic act. Alright, now the sister seems like she's snooping around, and she hears that
jingle, jingle, jangle.
She hears that little weird blip on the score. She looks up at the creepy fog on the side of the mountain. Her eyes are dilating. Now she's looking over at her wardrobe, getting out. Ooh, Jackie Onassis jacket. This girl should be in MI6. Spies can do all kinds of crazy stuff if there was psychic powers. Alright, now all these guys are like upset and leaving the cabin because they're like, they were the most experienced climbers and he got decapitated. Yeah, but that wasn't a climbing accident, dude. Trisket noticed that the phone line was cut, but it's not cut like by a blade. It's like some chemical, like it completely demolecularized. Brooks saw some experiments with excessive heat and excessive cold change things base elements. It's really cold, but it ain't cold enough for this. Alright, Aunt back to the hotel set. She's in the hotel hallway, going down into the lobby. Anne is snooping around. She tightened her jacket and she's looking around. She's being very sneaky. She's a grown woman. I guess back then people would, like, a woman who's unattended would, like, sadly be like, go back to your room, young lady. She walks to that matte painting again when they got out of the car. She looks up at the spooky mountain. She looks up at a small plane, little Cessna. Cut away. Cuts to two random climbers on the mountain. This guy does have one of those giant radios, the army style radio with the antenna. He's able to call the pilot of this little plane. Yeah, they're all like Swiss and German people. What's your position? The missionary position, sir. And reverse cowgirl. Okay, so they're a search party looking for the missing guy. One guy has the vantage point of the plane and the other ones are actually looking. He's giving them their coordinates on the mountain, so he knows exactly where they are in relation to what he finds. It keeps cutting to the guy in this interior set of a cockpit of a plane with rear projection clouds, and then it cuts to these mountaineers. Sarah goes back in the room of the hotel and Anne's gone. My goodness. Jeez Louise, it is remarkable how slowly paced these movies were. It's not really boring, though. It's just, compared to modern movies. She looks out the hotel window and sees her sister riding up the lift trolley crane that goes up. What are those things called? That James Bond fought Jaws on top of. Cut to an interior of the little trolley car and the sister riding. Now it's the plane again. He's looking for people. He sees a spooky fog rolling across the ravine. That's a real shot. Zoom in. There's a guy waving. Oh, could it be the survivor? The younger guy who left in a trance? The pilot radios to the two Krauts with the radio hiking. Hey, he's here at these coordinates. Go find him. They're climbing up the side. And the sister, Anne, is now riding the trolley car all the way up. Anne just got out of the lift at the observatory and the lab guy's hitting on her. The guy can tell she's kind of weird and she's in a trance. He's walking her by her arm into the observatory bunker, the big metal door. All right, now these mountaineers are climbing up. They found a backpack. Backpack. On a pretty scary flat area. There's a oddly flat area on a mountain, and there's a backpack. I found das Rucksack. He's calling out for his friend who's lagging behind. Ew, there's blood on the backpack. Or jam. It is a black and white film. Opens it. And it's the mountaineer's head severed. Now the younger guy comes out. He's like in a trance. He's like he's like possessed by something, and he's using his hiking axe to chop down these two mountaineers. Please don't stab me with that pickaxe. No! was just cruel, sir. Cuts to the observatory, Anne's just sitting there. She seems to know what happened, where the guys just got murdered. Professor Von Duck is looking at his radar. They're doing all kinds of readings, and Anne is snooping around. She's sneaking out of the room, back to that set of the hallway. That's a really cool overhead shot of her running down the hallway. And as she's trying to leave, Brooks and the search party come in. What are you doing up here? Brooks is like grabbing her and like, no, it's not safe for you to be alone. Come back here. What are you doing up here?
Bitch, you ain't my daddy. Don't tell me what to do.
And he's walking her back into the observatory. All the guys that just found the body hidden in the bunk. So now it's this same old medium close-up shot of this scientist and Brooks within the observatory, sitting near their instruments. He's explaining that they found the older mountain climber, decapitated now also. Loki, sit still. Sorry, my dog's making a lot of noise. The cloud is on the move again. Philip Triscuits, I don't think you'd understand. Butt out. Okay, he finally reveals that he's not a spy. He's a reporter. He writes for some British newspaper. So Brooks is revealing that the United Nations wanted to put together a special team, kind of like Fringe or X-Files, that will investigate paranormal, supernatural phenomena, or things that the normal government entities don't want to admit exist. And Triscuit was asking if this is the same as it's been in the other mountain ranges of the world that Brooks and the professor experienced in the past. And he said, it is, but it's more intense. Before, the deaths weren't as frequent. Brooks is sort of an envoy that gets to decide if a United Nations team comes in. This was post-war, too, when people still respected United Nations. And it is the atomic era of movies, so they're debating whether or not this is some sort of mutation of a terrestrial animal, or if it's from Venus or Mars. And Brooks is like, I'm leaning towards the latter. I read H.G. Wells, and that's all my brain is capable of processing. Different planet. Yeah, it's just doing kind of a reverse shot of them having this discussion, debating the origins of the creature. Professor Von Duck thinks that it's the elevation and radiation level. The air is so non-existent up there that they can kind of create their own biosphere within those clouds. But I want to know, I want to see one. Do they fly? Or is it more of a, like, within that floating cloud, they're able to swim around? He says it might also have something to do with the pressure up there. Like they can only live at a certain pressure level or elevation. Alright, this time it was a hard cut. Usually this movie's been cross-dissolving the transitions between scenes when I say cut to. But this one actually was a jump cut to Sarah coming down the stairs into the lobby set to talk to Triscuit and the bartender. Which is kind of jarring, because in the scene before, Triscuit was just at the observatory. Leave me alone while I romance Hans. Bartender's explaining that the plane spotted who he thought was a survivor, and then, sure enough, that rescue party has gone missing now, too. Brooks and Professor now enter the lobby, and they're asking,
Where is she? Where's Anne?
She's in her room. Wouldn't you want, like, a guard around her 24/7? Because, she's able to predict things that happen, and she's clearly proven it. In walks the young, hypnotized climber. And they're all shocked to see him. They assumed he was dead. And as he lumbers in to the bar, he's walking like a zombie. The DP is lighting him really cool, like from below, like a John Alton lighting from those Anthony Mann noir movies. There's deep shadows behind him and light from below. This is the spooky shit that gets to me. Just mood and atmosphere. Where the hell have you been? Don't ask. He asks if his friend got back, and he goes, no, he hasn't. When was the last time you saw him? At the hut. Yeah, that's the last place I saw him, too. He pulls his collar like he feels sick or fatigued. I've got nausea. Pour me a drink. Oh, yeah, that'll help. Quickly. Poison my liver. Okay, Brooks is watching his mannerisms. Quickly, it goes up to a kind of a close-up of the wine glass, their scotch glass that they're trying, and he can barely pour it. He's pouring it all over the bar. Can't make it touch his mouth. Bro, I think you're a stroke patient. And he's asking too many questions about Sarah's sister. Why are you so interested in her? She's too young for you, bro. Now, Brooks is intentionally offering this guy a cigarette to see how he performed with that. Back to the low-angle shot from the bar. The guy can't even strike a match. Yeah, he's acting like the two hemispheres of his brain aren't talking to each other. He tried to hold the match up to light the cigarette and he was almost burning his own nose. Brooks helped him. I've seen all I need to see. I'm a bit nervous. I think this guy is having that Travis Walton effect where he's realized that he lost track of so much time and he feels really funky. The younger Pilgrim sister Anne
suddenly enters the room.
And this dude immediately jumps up and is hypnotized again. Her presence reactivated the possession, and she seems to know it too, that there's some kind of evil force at work with him. Homeboy pulled a thick knife out of his pocket. How was that not cutting him? He just pulled it out of his own leg. And he's about to come for her, and Brooks is like, "Nuh-uh, not on my watch." And he punches him so hard. With his giant fist that the guy flew back and also hit his head. And they notice he's not bleeding. He has wounds, clearly. This is a case of the pod people. He's not bleeding at all. Alright, it cross-dissolves to, looks like a storage area of the hotel. Maybe a wine cellar. They dragged one of the beds down there, or a futon, and they're laying him on it. I would tie him to it. He's clearly dangerous. And they are still walking around doing exposition, but at least now the lighting is wicked handsome. Oh, this area locks up. They can lock him in here. It's a wine cellar with a really big iron door. You gotta protect those spirits and wines. Now they're going up the stairs, and this dude is out like a light. Now they're back in this fucking lobby scene. Triscuit's asking, why was he acting like that? Have you guys seen people possessed like this before during the other phenomenons you guys were investigating? He said that part of our report was hushed up. I would think the United Nations, all the intelligentsia of the Cold War would want him to not speak so openly to a journalist. Wouldn't they, as soon as this guy is here, you try to find some place to hide this guy so he can't go back and write a report? I mean, I wouldn't put it past the CIA and MI6 to just disappear this guy. At the 52.57 mark, this movie is becoming a lot of exposition scenes that are just nicely lit, but it kind of ruins the mood. There had been very spooky moments, like the guy looking out at the fog, the initial stinger at the beginning with the headless body on the mountain, and this guy being in a controlled body snatcher state. But, I mean, it's not a bad film at all, but it's just a little bit better than Middle of the Road. Kind of reminds me a lot from the Terror from Beyond Space, except that movie shows the monster a lot. So at least if you wait a bit, you'll see a monster. And it's got all the fun retrofuturism of the ship. Professor Von Duck is explaining that the last case where they discovered this phenomenon, there had been a man who was pronounced dead by the medical examiner and wrapped up, and he got up and still did things. So I think the person that they have locked up in the wine cellar, he's afraid that might be going on with them, where they're kind of a zombie. They're not really a living person anymore. Hence, no blood, rigor mortis. The guy before who had been hypnotized was dead for 24 hours even, and then he got back up. It's this fog. It's got Plan 9 from outer space powers. So Brooks's theory is that these things, these beings that live within the clouds, their existence is threatened by the girl with the good shining, Anne. So they're trying to send human envoys or zombie slaves to do their dirty work for them. Why don't y'all come out and fight like real creatures? But he says, why are they only just now trying to do this? Professor Von Duck says something foreboding. We'll know soon enough. Well, can you show the audience? Because we're kind of hanging on here, falling into boredom. Cross dissolve to the wine cellar. Everything within this hotel now at night and in this basement is being lit, so that is a quality of the film you can't knock. Got great photography. And sometimes the director is doing very cool things. Alright, just like they predicted, they knocked him unconscious and he's waking up in the little cot they put down there. I've got a throbbing headache. Thank God I've got all this gin around. What is he doing? Grabbing his wiener? World's slowest getting up out of bed with a hangover scene. Now he realizes he's locked in. And he hides real quick when he hears Hans coming down the stairs to check on him. The way he's lit when he hid behind this big metal door, he looked like Rondo Hatton. Very menacing Dick Tracy looking villain. Hans sees the bed's empty.
Where on earth could he be?
Within a little gap in the door, he started strangling the guy. So I think Hans is a goner. Because when they're possessed by these things, I think they have super strength. Hans, say it ain't so. At least it wasn't the bartender. Hotel needs a bartender.
Okay, I guess Sarah is waking up. She's not psychic, but she can hear a ruckus down in the basement. She's walking over to the door. That's a wicked shot. A meat cleaver stuck inside of a uprooted tree stump, and now this guy is lumbering like a zombie through the hotel at night. Finally, some spooky stuff, and it's lit awesome, like cat people. Sarah's walking down the hallway. This guy's stalking through the hallways. Now he's walking up the stairs. She sees him at the bottom of the stairs, panics. Cue the overly dramatic music. She's banging on Brooks's door, begging him to come out. Whatever entity is controlling him just got a sense of what room Anne's is. It walks in on her, and she's just waking up out of sleep. Sees a scary guy coming in the room, making a menacing grin with a big ol' meat cleaver.
Time to die.
Alright, it did a quick cut to her face, cut to his face, kind of built up some tension there. As her eyelids grow, it keeps cutting to him getting closer, and bang! Brooks shot him in the back. Stone cold motherfucker, Brooks. That was badass. So I guess you could give the guy a traumatic head wound earlier by bashing it in, but if you shoot him in the back, that'll permanently stop the possession. Whatever. Now they're back in the basement, and they're wrapping up this guy's body. Oh, the guy he killed earlier was not Hans. It was Fedora Man, the tour guide. Hans is down here right now with a lamp. Oh, thank God Hans is still alive. They're investigating the body. This is a really cool low-angle shot. It could have been an influence on John Carpenter's The Thing when they're looking at the bodies on the tables. The camera's tilted up slightly. Out of focus, you see the body in the foreground with a sheet over it, and everyone is kind of towering over it with the deep shadows behind them. And Professor Von Duck is saying, look, when you hold the oil lantern near their body, it's like his skin and flesh is becoming crystallized, like meat that'd been deep frozen. Hans is freaking out like a little bitch. Oh, that was a cool effect. A 3-layer dissolve effect of different stages of a rotting hand. Like the guy just suddenly decomposed in real time. So he is dead, or as much as dead as these things can be, where he's not going to keep moving. Trisket comes down the stairs ranting about how we got a call from the observatory that the cloud is now doubled in size and it's now headed down into the valley where the hotel is. These creatures don't feel safe no more. They're coming out of their comfort zone to declare war. Hans is trying to call for help, but all the phone lines out aren't working. And there's a ton of hotel guests. I guess this was a popular day. The hotel is crowded. On the worst possible day, this could happen. Brooks's plan is, let's get everybody up to the observatory. It's built to withstand earthquakes and avalanches. It's a bunker. It's an impenetrable fortress. So, like an escape boat, they're getting everyone into the ski lift elevator to go up to the observatory. Heard a car speed off. Who's that? It's Hans. Brooks runs outside and sees Hans take off like a coward inside of his car. You bastard! Alright, there's a little girl playing with a bouncy ball, and her mom looks like Tippi Hedren in The Birds. That's gotta come back later. A close-up shot of the little girl dropping her ball. Alright, Trisket's helping with people's luggage, getting everyone evacuated to this observatory. Cut to the miniature scale model and matte painting of the ski lifts going up. It cuts to a close-up shot of the gears and pulleys system that makes this elevator thing work. The crankshaft! You gotta crank it before you spank it. It's almost like a miniature rail station where they're letting everyone on. Interior shot of the lift. Professor Von Duck and Sarah, the older sister, are riding. Professor, are you sure we're doing the right thing? But I do know it's too dangerous to be down in the village with that cloud coming down on us. It would really suck if you were in this lift and the cloud came. Just snip the wires and adios amigos. That was a really awesome miniature shot. Production created a small scale miniature of a ravine from the vantage point of a ski lift going up, and they're using dry ice to look like fog moving across the valley floor. Almost looks like something out of John Carpenter's The Fog. Alright, cut back to Brooks, and they're communicating with all the hotel staff. I guess they're volunteer villagers helping out with evacuating everyone. Alan, look at this. In the deep frame is a matte painting shot of mountains, and then there's more miniatures of the neighboring hotels. The mysterious fog is rolling across all these trees and hotels. I wish they would linger longer on these shots. I'm so spoiled by Godzilla movies. Trish gets very alarmed. Brooks is scared, but he's keeping that heroic demeanor. I wonder if it influenced on some level on Stephen King's short story and the movie The Mist. There's a cloud coming, and he was like, if only we could see within that to see what's hiding in there. Well, we'll know soon enough. It cuts to a shot of the lobby, and the camera is panning down. There's no human subject. The camera's just following something on the ground to get to a certain shot. Foley artist or sound design team is making it sound like something is crawling. Maybe the things are invisible that live within the fog. And there's that strange chime sound that comes back on the sound effects every so often. The camera pans past the little girl's baseball or bouncy ball, and now it's tilting up to a door. There's a floodlight effect coming out from the gap at the bottom of the main door of the hotel. They're feeding in dry ice fog. That definitely influenced Carpenter's The Fog. And there's shadows moving under it also. If that fog smells, these creatures reek of turpentine. All right, Brooks is like, we've got to hurry. They're on top of us now. Brooks just doesn't seem very worried about it. Whatever. All right, cuts back to this little loading area of the lift, and Brooks is letting everybody on the ski lift. This woman is lingering behind. She's saying, I can't find my child. What did I say? She went to look for that little rubber ball. It's the same damn little rubber ball from the Changeling. Of course, the child. She's stuck at the hotel getting flooded. Brooks is like, I'm going to go make a heroic rescue. And Triskett's like, but what about you? And he just said, do as you're told. Listen, journalist, I don't read your commie pinko rag. Do what you're told. The woman wants to go rescue her kid too, but Trisket is restraining her. Patience, woman. Where the fog was rolling in under doors earlier, 2 breakaway doors fell, and there is a giant, creature looks like a disemboweled testicle mixed with maybe human brain tissue, and it has a human ocular eye with a bunch of tendrils that come off of it like nerves. It's almost like if someone's eye got removed and started being able to move around on its own, using all its optic nerves as tendrils and tentacles. It's a pretty good creature effect.
It's party time.
The puppet effect makes the eye look around the room. The little girl's just wandering into the room to get her ball, and the creature notices she's coming in. A really gross close-up of its slimy eye.
Ding, 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 ding.
The little girl crouched down to pick up her ball, and as she's raising back up, the tentacle raises up with her, and she realizes it's not just a piece of rope or wire. It quickly coils around her, and it's constricting her, lifting her up off the ground. And Brooks rushes in with a giant pickaxe. The creature's making a roaring sound that sounds like engines revving at a derby race. He's a pretty good shot with that pickaxe. He hit it in one blow. And the creature let out a painful yelp. I snipped off your finger. It's making this funny wailing sound like Judge Doom. Also the Miss Piggy voice in Kung Pao. A Swiss guy is speaking to the woman in some kind of Dutch-sounding language, trying to calm her down. Tell her Mr. Brooks will do the right thing. Okay. And he comes back in the room with the baby. Thanks for nothing, lady. Go get in the cable car and leave. We're all going. Brooks gets in as well. The first shot is stock footage of people actually riding on these at some resort. And then another shot is of one very close up, ascending the mountain. Alright, now there's a teddy bear that the girl dropped down by the transmission and gearbox of this trolley lift, and the fog is coming into the room. Although that time it didn't look like dry ice fog, it just looked like someone left the shower on. That was a close shave. Alright, the DP is doing some emphasis lighting to show that the invisible entities within the fog are trying to tamper with the transmission, trying to get the belts to snap or pull them back more likely. That screeching nails on a chalkboard sound of a transmission belt tearing. He's asking the guy on the ski lift, can this contraption work in extreme cold? I think they're going to try to break the cables with cold. Too bad they didn't have a miniature of this flailing around, because it's kind of a not a tense sequence. They're having to pretend they're getting thrusted around. And once again, it's not showing anyone's vantage point of how high up they are. You're just supposed to imagine. Come on, you got to get a matte painter in there to show the vertigo effect. And with all its tampering, they're still slowly making it to the top of the observatory at a normal speed. And occasionally they just jerk around to act scared. They made it there safely. It's kind of a pointless scene. That could have been an amazing set piece that people would still talk about today. Alright, now they're at the exterior of the observatory and cut to the hallway within the observatory. Everyone's hunkered down like it's the UK subways during World War II bombing raids. And this scientist is letting them in the big metal hatch door.
Welcome.
The camera tracks with them. Cowardly Hans, bartender's up there, who sped off. He's toking a blunt. They go to the main observatory set, and Brooks is coming to look at Von Duck's radar. We're in big trouble. The cloud is splitting up. He says, check that radio. Are we going to call for help? Brooks is like, no, we're going to try to use the radio against them. Oh, I thought he was actually going to do something with the radio frequency. They're calling the United Nations or the nearest Air Force's air squadron to come in and drop bombs on them. That'll do the trick. When you meet a creature from another scary universe that you can't communicate with, just rain blows upon them until they're a bloody mess, and then see if peace talks can begin after that. Brooks is walking back and forth, bossing everyone around. One of the lab assistants got a motion sensor alarm from the exterior, and Hans is outside now, acting really weird. He's like scratching himself. He's been hitting the pipe too hard. That's Hans from the hotel. Let's let him in. Brooks is trying to be pragmatically optimistic, but you can tell from his expression that we're in for some bumpy weather. Now the lab assistant is going down the hall set to open it and let Hans in. Hans comes in. He's acting way different than before. What was that you smoked, dude? This guy looks like he has a bunch of padding under his clothing. He has like that Stacy Keach lip. You alright, Hans? Yeah, I'm just a little, Hans is complaining of being way too overheated, but it's clearly wintry. Alright, they seem to think he's alright, and they walk away from him. Camera slowly pushes in, and now he's got a mysterious smirk. He's one of the fog-possessed people now. Anne is sitting down in the lobby, and it does this really cool Scorsese-esque push-in on her face. She realizes that one of these possessed people is near her. Her eyes slowly look up, and Hans is making the creepiest, just looks like a deranged sex offender. They're staring at each other from two ends of the room, and all the men are talking about like what they're going to do about the monsters, not realizing that the mood has gotten tense. He's mad-dogging her from the other end of the room. And Anne gets up, and she's going to hide inside of Professor Von Duck's office. She said, I'm just going to go get some ice. Brooks is thinking maybe we can use Anne's shining to call for help or use against the creatures in some way. Obviously, she feels the premonition of these things. This is a pretty good scene. While he's doing all this exposition, trying to convince Sarah, you can see out of focus in the background, Hans is making his way to the room she just hid in. One of the laboratory assistants is calling the professor over. The assistant says that the temperature is dropping rapidly from what it was. It had been in the 20s and now it's into the 40 below. Brooks has the brilliant idea that since these creatures are so cold, maybe we can make them really hot. You, sir, need the Nobel Prize. Hans came in a little while ago. Now Brooks is like, Hans, what's he doing up here? He said he changed his mind. Brooks is all startled. He knows Hans is up to something. Where is he? He's hiding in the corridor. He ain't in the corridor. Where is that dirty kraut? I'm gonna fucking circumcise him with a butter knife. They rush into Von Duck's office, and he is choking Anne out. Get off of her, you creep. Trisket jumps on his back. Trisket's a little guy. He's pretty brave to take on this big bratwurst man, and now Brooks is gonna manhandle him. He put Brooks in the camel clutch. This guy has the strength of like 3 men. Ew, he's bending Brooks over the doctor's desk. It looks like he wants to take his pants down. He must be like really hurting his spine or something. Brooks is reaching for one of the doctor's 90-degree right angle tools that's in the shape of a sharp triangle. And he slowly wraps it around. Oh, he stabbed the dude in the Von Stucker with it. I told you he was going to go in there and do some slicing and dicing of that German meat. He let out the biggest goofy yelp when he got stabbed in the nuts. Alright, don't stop stabbing him though. Stab him repeatedly in the head. In fact, stomp on his head until your foot's covered in brain. We know what happens to these things when you think they're knocked out or dead. Sarah's trying to wake him up. More importantly, check on the little girl who just got strangled by this douche. Let's be honest, Hans was not a very good bartender. He didn't know how to make a Bloody Mary. Brooks is in army mode now. He's wanting to call in an air raid officially. Professor Von Duck is reiterating that this is essentially a bunker. I think Brooks is getting the idea to use incendiaries. I don't know, with the lab chemicals. He says every time we've come into contact with these creatures or the people possessed by them, it's like they look like they've been in a deep freeze. So now we're going to use heat. So I believe it was Confucius that said, me mind on fire, me soul on fire, me feel it hot times 3. It is a lab, so they have a ton of rubbing alcohol. He's saying get all the jars and rags that you can get Oh yes, Vyacheslav Molotov, the Finnish gift to the world that was a parody of the commie chairman. Alright, cuts to the exterior of the observatory. It looks like Power Rangers Zordon's palace. There's a miniature of the mountainside, and the fog is crawling up the mountain face. Spooky music, weird little sounds, chirps and blips. Ugh, this thing breathes like it has bad case of emphysema. America runs on Duncan! And all these little tendrils are growing. They must have filmed this in reverse, pulling the roots down off the mountain and then played it back in reverse. Evil Dead style. It's pretty cool, the way the creatures slowly move like plants through the fog. There's two of them. It's moving towards the camera. Its eye is looking around. That must have been pretty terrifying back in 1958. So I count maybe 4. They're coming in on all sides of the bunker. They don't know how to get in. One of the miniatures of these creatures actually pulsates, like they filled it with an air bladder. These things are breathing like they're hyperventilating, or they're a little too excited to see Brooks, if you know what I mean. Alright, they're doing an old-timey resistance, filling these bottles with all types of explosives, kerosene, chemicals, alcohols. Brooks is walking down the hall to make sure everyone's doing their job right, getting armaments ready. He says, "Men, nobody leaves this corridor unless I say so, because I think he's afraid of infiltration from the fog creatures." And he says that we do have help on the way, so he called in a bomb squadron. If this thing can withstand an avalanche, it can totally withstand, unless it was an atomic weapon. The artillery that planes dropped back then was, I don't know if they were bunker buster level explosives yet. They were pretty devastating, but now he looks at the instruments one last time. Now he's rushing down the hallway, and Brooks is being handed a Molotov that someone lit. Brooks is saying, "If I go outside and I don't do a knock, don't let me back in. Go give him hell." He runs outside and sees one crawling up the mountain. He threw the Molotov right in its face. This really loud sound, like someone scratching their finger across a theremin. I guess it's the sound effect for that thing squealing. He knocked and the guy let him back in. And there's a ton of fog or smoke in already. So I don't know if it's doing the trick, chemical reaction on the creatures. Now Trisket is going to try his hand at throwing a Molotov. "Don't do it, Trisket. You're a little bitch. I'll take you to the zoo tomorrow." He threw one at one of them. He made a pretty good hit. But one is flanking him, crawling up behind him on top of the observatory. This one looks a lot nastier, like a hairy nutsack. And it's lowering its tendrils, and it is strapping his neck up like a noose. And there's a little G.I. Joe doll getting lifted by a miniature. Go ahead and take him. That's my least favorite G.I. Joe character. You keep your hands off Snake Eyes. It cuts back in. There's a lot of cross-cutting, so sorry if I'm not saying all the exact shot descriptions. Professor Von Duck rushes into the hallway and tells Brooks that via the instruments he sees that this creature is choking out Trisket and lifting him up onto the roof. So now Brooks is running outside with a Molotov. Who filled this one with urine? He runs outside. He sees Trisket getting choked out on the roof. He threw it up there and it bounced off of Trisket's head and then hit the monster. What if he just lit Trisket on fire? Alright, Trisket fell limp. He's still alive. He's just way out of oxygen. They all crawled back into the bunker. Trisket's trying to catch his breath. Brooks is checking on him. The creatures are crying outside with fire on their bodies. Crying out with barbecued chicken for skin now. I wonder how that would smell. It smells like burnt Sasquatch hair. Now they're going back into the main observatory to look at the instruments, to see what the heck going on. All the fire they threw has caused smoke that's blocking the cameras, and now a giant Royal Air Force bomber is coming. And it is a different actor playing the pilot than the small search party plane from earlier. Brooks is just kind of tying all the scenes together, walking. He went into the office now and he's asking, "Is Anne okay?" "Yeah, I think she'll be okay." "Alright, just making sure everything's running for the climax of this film." This is when a director is following a script a little too close, but they're also boxed in by the amount of sets and effects that they have. The camera tilts up and shows that Anne is basically an unconscious schlub at this point. You would think that would make the creatures not be able to detect her anymore if she's unconscious. It keeps cutting to exteriors of the creatures on fire, flailing their limbs around, but they still seem pretty active. The pilot is radioing everyone within the observatory saying, "I can't see you guys, you're covered by too much clouds." And Brooks is saying, It is the clouds. Bomb the clouds. Your target is the clouds. One of those Lakitu Koopa Troopas is flying around. You need to hit him with everything you've got. I guess this is the thing Brooks says. The pilot said, it doesn't seem very resourceful to me to bomb a cloud. And he says, just do what you're fucking told. Or so help me God, when you land on the runway, I'm going to run out there and suplex you into the canvas. Yes, sir. Out. See, you can walk over Europeans easy. You just got to put some bass in your voice. Hopefully this bunker will withstand the heat of those bombs. It's cutting to everyone looking tired out in the different rooms of the observatory. Ooh, and inside Dr. Von Duck's office, one of the walls is cracking. Sarah doesn't notice that a concrete wall is cracking. All right, the model wall snapped open and one of the eyes is looking at her. She covers Anne's unconscious body to protect her, and a tendril is reaching in. A far superior creature feature from this same year, besides the original Blob, is a fiend without a face, and those brain creatures in that are claymation, and the spinal cord is the little tentacle tendril they move around with, and there's a shot exactly like this where Brooks is getting strangled. Finally, Trisket gets to be the hero. He rushes in to help. He grabs a Molotov from one of the radars, runs back into the office, and chunks that thing right in its eye. You're a mensch, bro. A legend. Alright, and that creature cried out, and they rush out of the professor's room. And they hear the jet engines approaching. This really cool shot of everyone hunkered down in that hallway, all the hotel guests looking at the ceiling in fear. And now a bombing onslaught begins. Steady. Open the bomb bay doors. Snip the... Oh, pretty good. They rigged this set with all these cute miniature monsters with firecrackers everywhere. And their tentacles are like flailing like they're being electrocuted. Okay, bomb them again. Just keep bombing. It's crazy how there's only a handful of angles they can film these miniatures from. And it shows how much planning and storyboarding can take the energy and excitement of your climax. Because Tarantula from a few years before this has a very similar bomb the creature ending, and it's still pretty exhilarating today. This one is just kind of like, we're just watching these creatures get cooked. I'll baptize that piece of calamari. Someone's just leaving the squid out to cook a little too long on the grill. Well, they don't really have eyelids, but it would have been cool to see one of the creature's eyes roll back in their head. And heroically, the bomber plane did a little loop through the air, and now it's cutting to the exterior, and everything is cooked. There's just the burnt husks of these creatures everywhere, and it almost looks like that dead roots that wrap around everything in War of the Worlds. Alright, the big metal shield door is going up, and they are triumphant. Hooray, everyone go home. Tell the villagers we fixed the problem. They can go down the mountain anytime they like. Anne has a sense of happiness, and Trisket is just like grabbing her face. How do you feel, young lady? I feel fine. Why are you grabbing my face like I'm a baby? Oh, it almost seems like Trisket's gonna take her on a walk and like romance her. Sarah's okay with it. That guy's a hack. He writes yellow journalism. Whatever he writes is going to end up in the Inquirer. Sarah's walking over to Brooks. Everyone's happy that the evil has been vanquished. Everyone's having a cigarette. Well, smoke him if you got him. Alright, and then it cuts to the matte painting that began the film of the spooky mountain, but now it looks less foreboding and the evil cloud is gone. Well, isn't this magical? Cue credits.
Alright. Hope you guys like that. Polly made some pretty decent clip art based paper dolls for me. Could have been a lot worse. Alright guys, with that being said, I am going to go for now. Tune in next week for the public domain commentary night. And always remember, I got it off the vine. It's sweet like honey, and I plug it all the time. Adios.